need to turn this.
He's about to start. He was trying to speak to us. He went a long way. And I didn't realize that he wasn't coming out here in Clubhouse, so please bear with us. He's about to start. Yeah, it's okay.
All good. Finally.
You are your Father's son in more ways than one.
Okay, thank you, Lee. So this the last 10 days, we've been trying to focus on forgiveness. And this last of the 10 ideas about forgiveness states that now will I seek and find the peace of God. So today, what I'd like to do is to maybe go on a little journey in our mind of what this forgiveness is all about, and kind of review those 10 or these 10 lessons with the idea of what is our misperceptions about ourselves and what do we have to forgive. Realizing that they mentioned earlier that unforgiving thought is a thought that you believe, that you perceive to be true, and that you refuse to hold it up to cross-examination. You refuse to listen to any opinion other than your own. You argue for your rightness rather than actually seeking the truth or looking from an outside observer that hasn't already prejudged. So what we want to do is we want to discuss today about how we got here, and let's take some steps to clean up our stinking thinking. So what we're going to do today is get comfortable in your own body right now and become aware of the body. And what I'd like you to do is to think of your body and realize that the body is just a game token. It's a neutral communication device that we need if we're going to have a space where we can interact and communicate with other seeming bodies and learn and have experiences, as each plays various roles assigned to each party for the learning lessons and teaching moments that they provide. Now, Lee mentioned the idea of, and I had mentioned it in the description about fear the example, that you might be robbed. And he said, well, that person might be trying to get food for his family. He might be hungry. He may also be a junkie that's looking for his next fix. It doesn't really matter what he's doing or why he's doing it. What we need to realize is that in each moment in time, each person is acting in the most loving way that their current state of fear will allow. For that person that's robbing you, and let's just make him a junkie looking for his next fix, or maybe someone that's high. That person, in his current state of mind, believes that his fear will be minimized by robbing you. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's right or correct and that we should condone him for doing that. It just means that he was acting out of his current mind's beliefs and state, and that the truth is, if I was him in that same moment with those same beliefs, with my belief that I needed to get some money to get my next fix, I would have acted exactly what he did, and I would have robbed you also. So it's our beliefs that we need to realize. Everyone in the Ripley's Believe It or Not, the junkie that's robbing you, or maybe has a gun to your head and actually decides to shoot you. In a Ripley's Believe It or Not, he was acting in the most loving way that he could perform at that moment. Now, perhaps because he shot you and dead, he may tomorrow be able to come up with a better solution, a better way to react. That's his journey. That's his space. All that we have to know is that if I was in his own state of mind with those beliefs, that I would have acted that way. So our job in time and space is to always first minimize our own fear, and then to, if we've got our own fear in control, to help other people minimize their own fear. So like in that example where the person pulls a gun out, you can react, and the way you will react is in the most loving way that you can respond. If you feel that you need to defend yourself, if you ask for guidance, and that's the most effective way for you to minimize your fear, that's the actual advice that you'd get. The Holy Spirit is always going to try and meet you where you're at and guide you to reduce your level of fear. By the same token, the ego is always going to respond based on your own beliefs about yourself and try to argue for its rightness and its justification for the way it acts. In this case, the ego will say, you're a body, this person is blah, 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 this person, and you might judge the person, whatever, but you're going to be arguing for the rightness of your action. And so you're going to be slipping into judgment and fear. But our purpose here in time and space, and this is where kind of the rubber meets the road, is to see how we will react when we're confronted with circumstances that tend to push our buttons, that someone is not acting in the most what we perceive loving way, or the way we would like them to act in order to make us happy. What the Course is saying is that we're mistaking what the purpose of this world is for. It's not for the junkie to make me happy. It's for the junkie to help me reawaken to the truth that I am not a body, I am free, I am still as God created me, and nothing can cause me to lose my inner peace unless I so desire it. So in this case, you still have control of your own inner peace. You still have the right to make whatever decision you do. But the truth is that with or without a body, you still exist. The body is just a game token that we need to be able to interact effectively in this time-space continuum, this game board. So as long as you want to play in this game of separation, you have learning lessons that you'd like to continue to learn, you may opt to choose to maintain, protect that body so that you continue to learn the lessons that you believe you still have to learn. So that's just an overall, but since we had the mention of the uh, robbing, in time and space, that event did occur. You physically got robbed. You physically may have actually been shot and killed. So that happened in the historical records of time and space. But the reality is that you still exist. You still remain as God created you, perfect, whole, and complete. So with that backdrop, I want to go in today is review back these lessons with the idea that what the Course is saying is that if we want to escape fear, we need to escape the fear-based thought system and question all the crap we've been taught about ourselves, all the items that we have been uh, indoctrinated into, which in this world of form is the idea that, yes, Tom, you are a body, and yes, Tom, you need that body if you are to exist. So what we're going to do is to try and realize what kind of crap we've been rolling around in, and to take a spiritual bath through the power of forgiveness to start washing off the crap that we've been holding in our mind's eye, in our mind's beliefs, our misperceptions about ourselves, so that we can reclaim and seek and find the peace of God. So let's get comfortable and just let's become aware that this game board is actually not your home. And to believe that this world has somehow the power to make you happy, or to make you whole, or to make you complete is a major error. Because when you make that error, you are assuming that you are the body and that you need the body to continue to exist. Lesson 221 said, "Peace to my mind, let all my thoughts be still." Today, what we want to do as we look at that body, we need to realize that we've been rolling around in a bunch of misperceptions about what we are, and that our egoic mind has bought into the idea that we are not perfect, whole, and complete, that we are sinners, that maybe God has condemned us, or that God is a God of judgment and is constantly looking over your shoulder to see what he can do to mess up your life or have you burn a little in purgatory or hell, but whatever to make your life miserable. So, lesson 221 asks us to silence our egoic thoughts and let our mind be still. So, today, what we want to do in this bath of forgiveness is to forgive ourselves for all the misperceptions, the erroneous beliefs that we held that we were the body. When you breathe in the breath of life, when you and we have been experiencing and moving our awareness outside the body, getting in touch with our essence, our spirit, our energy force, we realize that we are a mind, we are a spirit, and therefore the body is a mere game token. So today, let's scrub off the idea that we have to start listening or always listen to the ego. And as we do, what we'll see, if we perceive ourselves to be a body, we'll have removed some of the layers of crap that we've placed on our life. The next lesson says that God is with me. I live and move in Him. The ego says that God and you are separate, that actually you're not part of the oneness that all that is. Lesson 222 asks you to correct that erroneous belief and realize that God is with you. He's not a judgmental God. He's pulling for you. He's a God of unconditional love. I live and move in him. So with that, let's remove that layer of crap that we've believed that we could be separate from our source, and see that layer like the peeling of an onion start dropping off, and we start seeing a faint bit of glow coming from that game token that we call the body. We start realizing that if God is in me, and God is unconditional love or light, that I may have that within me. And so forgive yourself for all those misunderstandings, those misstatements, those indoctrinated beliefs that you could be separate and that God could have chosen to kick you out of the Garden of Eden. The next lesson, lesson 223, says, God is my life. I have no life but God's. I breathe in the energy, the God force. That is my source. I am that energy that activates, flows, surrounds, permeates all things. You are part of that oneness, and God's love, that energy sustains, maintains, and protects you. You are not this game token you call the body. You are spirit. And forgive yourself for the belief that you could ever be separate and that somehow God would not provide for his beloved child. And forgive yourself for those misstatements, and forgive your world for the brainwashing that they've been indoctrinating into you. Now you start hearing the voice for the Holy Spirit, that guide that God has placed inside your mind to bring you home to the truth of what you really are. Lesson 224 says, God is my Father, my soul parent, and God loves his Son. We've been taught that we're the child of two biological parents, that we are the body. You've been around since the beginning of time. God created you long, long ago. You're not something that came into being 35 years ago, 50 years ago, or whatever, with some birth. Birth is merely your individuated consciousness, your state of awareness moving into and associating with the body, and death is your individuated consciousness leaving the game token we call a body. With or without a body, you still exist. God is my Father, and God loves his Son, his child. You are God's treasure. And forgive yourself for all the things that you've misperceived about yourself. This is a test. Are we still on? Or did I
Yes,
disappear?
don't worry. Perfect.
We're good.
Okay.
That was all just for emphasis. It's okay.
Uh, Lesson 225 is God is my Father, and his Son loves him. When I recognize that God is only unconditional love, and those beliefs that I've been taught, maybe through my religion or maybe through my own misperception, my belief that this world was a place that God had put me to suffer and to have pain and to make up for some sin that I didn't even commit, that maybe my great or Adam and Eve supposedly committed long ago. Those beliefs kept me in fear. I had transformed this God of unconditional love into a God of judgment, fear, and revenge. Now I realize that God is unconditional love. What I've been taught about God is wrong. And now, because I realize what my soul parent really is, unconditional love, I run to that source. I embrace it. I love it. I thought I had to fear it. This was a misperception of major proportion that kept me trapped in this fear-based world. As a matter of fact, it made me perhaps believe that this world was a place where I had to hide from God and that I had to fear my bodily death because at that time I would be judged and perhaps found unwanted by this revengeful, judgmental God. Now I realize that was my own beliefs. I was the cause of my own fear. Now I forgive myself for all that crap that I believe that I had projected upon this God of only love. And now, as I look back at my own body and I start removing and washing away through the power of forgiveness, all that crap, all those misbeliefs, my light is shining brighter and brighter. And now it's starting to, there's a glow coming out from that mud, that crap, that manure that I had been putting on my own beliefs, my own light of what I truly am. Lesson 226 is, my home awaits me. I will hasten there. I realize that this world, this game board of time and space, is not my home. It's a place where I have come to hone my skills and to reawaken to the truth of what I am. It's not my home, and it's not my reality. It's my play school. It's God's response to the abstract oneself asking, parent, I want to experience forgiveness. That's an aspect of love. And my parents saying, hey, there's no one that's ever wronged you, no one that's ever judged you. You really can't practice forgiveness here because there's nothing to forgive. But you, that adventuresome aspect, wanted to have the experience of what it would be like to actually practice forgiveness. And therefore, we created this game board, this imaginary world in which the autonomous oneself could make believe that they were separate, autonomous beings, separate and apart from that one self, and that we, in our that desire, created or a world of seeming hate and fear, so that we could demonstrate what love would have us do when that robber, that heroin addict, or that person that was holding that gun, how would we respond? Would we slip into judgment? Would we get caught up on the game, this roles that we were playing, and forget what we truly are? Would we forget that I am not a body, I am free, I am still as God created me, and therefore nothing in this time-space illusion can cause me to lose my inner peace? You could kill this game token we call the body, but you cannot cause me to lose my inner peace. Today, I realize that my home awaits me, and this world of time and space is not my real home. Therefore, I can leave it at any time. But remember that today we're here, and it's probably because in time and space we still have some lessons to learn, some experiences we want to have. And as long as we desire that, we'll still have a game token. But whenever we feel that the learning lessons are no longer of enough value to expend the energy for the few lessons I have to learn, you will voluntarily pull the silver cord and leave the body, and we will have supposedly died. And death, as we said earlier, is just our spiritual essence, our consciousness leaving its connection with the body. But you, I, still exist. So, lesson 226 asks us to be aware that in this world of time and space, there's nothing that you have to do to fix it, change it. All that you have to do is realize that it's not your reality, has no power to change how God created you, and that you are always 100% in charge of what you choose to place your awareness on and what you choose to interpret, how you choose to interpret the events. If you realize you're an actor and that the roles assigned have no consequence on your true reality, you'll be just fine. You can live in this fear-based world, this world of seeming hate and fear, without getting caught up in the drama, and still perform your roles on this game board. So I will be aware that this world has nothing that I want. Lesson 227 is, this is my holy instant of release. When I realize that I've always been free, that I am not a body, I am free. I have been given as the power of creation to be or imagine anything that I want. It's where I choose to place my awareness that my mind seems to go, where I seem to appear in reality. And as such, I can play in the world of imagination. I can pretend like the boy that I'm a dog, but the truth is I still remain as God created me. I've always had the ability to reawaken to the truth. I always have the ability, even in this fear-based world, to ask my higher self, what would love have me do? And I forgive myself for the misperception that I thought I was a victim. And as I do that, and I realize that I always have the ability to go home, a lot of crap washes off that body, and that illumination, that light continues to grow. Lesson 228 says, God has condemned me not. No more do I. This is the key. God has never condemned his beloved child. It's only been my own unforgiving mind that bought into the belief that there was something wrong with me, something wrong with God, something wrong with Joe, something wrong with Mary, my world, that made my ego go on this guilt trip of blame, shame, and guilt, in which I blamed others, blamed myself, blamed God for messing up my life. Now I realize that's my own creation. It's my own mind's belief. I bought into the idea that I was separate. I bought into the idea that I was not God's treasure. I bought into the idea that God had condemned me. Now I realize those were my own erroneous beliefs. I forgive myself for those beliefs. And with that, I really take a great shower, and a lot of crap starts rolling off me, and my light is shining very, very bright. Lesson 229 says, love which created me is what I am. That washing of forgiveness, forgiving myself for all my misbeliefs, my misinterpretations, my incorrect assumptions about myself, are now washing away all the crap of years, lifetimes of putting myself down, believing that there was something wrong with me. Now I see myself as God sees me. I see that love which created me is what I am. I am life. I breathe in that love of God, and I accept that as my reality. I am light. I am energy. I am sun. Unlimited life force. I am part of the oneness of all that is. Now I realize these four axioms. I am as my Father created me. I am free. I am not a body, and nothing sources my experience but me. In each moment, nothing has an effect upon me whatsoever. save that which I choose to allow to affect. Now, as decision maker, I realize it's my own unforgiving mind. It's my own judgments that creates the fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real. I have the ability to recognize the truth. All that I have to do is recognize, realize, and remember and ask for guidance, and I will recover my inner peace. The next axiom is I need do nothing. My ego can shut up and be quiet. My ego and all its misbeliefs, its erroneous thoughts are incorrect, and it's not going to decide how I'm going to live my life. As a matter of fact, I need do nothing because my ego is just my current beliefs about myself. And today, I recognize the truth. I use that shower of forgiveness to wash away all the misperceptions about myself. Axiom number 3 is that I do not live any ordinary moments. Each moment is extraordinary because with each breath, my experiences in this dimension of time and space are the stepping stone laid before me by my Creator to guide me back home, to guide His prodigal child back to the truth, and to reclaim my divine inheritance. Therefore, I will bring awareness to each moment and allow each moment to teach me how to forgive, how to embrace, how to love, and therefore how to live fully. In time and space, our function is forgiveness, not just forgiving others or God, but forgiving yourself. Your purpose is love, demonstrating what love would have you do. And that's merely asking Holy Spirit, inner guide, what would love have me do? And love will always first tell you to minimize your own fear. And once you've got your fears under control, to help others minimize theirs, to help them reawaken to the truth that they, like you, are God's treasure, created perfect, whole, and complete. They are not the body. They also are free. But unconditional love, which is what you are, allows all things, trusts all things, forgives all things, and transcends all things. So I will not condemn my brother or sister for the role they play, nor will I judge where they are on their own perfect path. I will merely hold the truth that they remain, as I do, God's beloved child, wakening up to the truth of what they really are. And the final axiom is the only relationship which holds any value at all is your relationship with God, your creative source, the depth of the ocean. Lesson 230 says, now will I seek and find the peace of God. So now connect with that game token we call the body and see yourself reconnecting and see that light and see that essence of what you are shining bright that the body cannot confine. But now, as you do that, look above and hear a voice and see the voice for God saying, "You, this is my beloved child with whom I am well pleased," and feel the love of God showering down upon you, his prodigal child, and feel that showering love permeating you and totally enveloping you in the love of God. Today, I will no longer seek the peace of God. Today, I will open my arms and find it. It's in you. It's in me. It surrounds us. It permeates us. For there is nothing outside of the one self. You as individuated consciousness remain as God created you. It's only your unforgiving mind that tries to keep you in prison. Today, we allow the love of God and our own forgiveness to wash away all our misperceptions of what we truly. Today, we realize there's nobody to fix, nobody to change, nobody to correct, nobody to protect, nobody to impress. There is nobody. God is, and you are that. So today, go about, create a great day for yourself and your world. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Absolutely wonderful. This experience this morning helped me get this lesson a little bit deeper into my mind so I can find the forgiveness and rise above the egos I made and really see the person for who they are. I can have a lot more empathy that way. That's what I'm going to put into my work today. What do you think, Dad?
I am reminded of something that only the old farts in this room here would probably even know who Jack Benny was. He was a comedian. Maybe you had seen, maybe some of you youngins had seen him. And he's famous for having the joke that made people laugh longer than any other joke. Now, that was 50, 60 years ago. And if you think about it, it's probably still true. What would make people laugh that long, 25 minutes or something like that, except something that makes them think about this, what it means, and just, here's the deal. Here was what the joke was. He is standing there on stage, and another guy comes in and says, with a gun, kind of like Tom alluded to, and says to Jack Benny, who was famous for being a penny pincher. He was famous for being greedy, but not greedy so much as just being extremely careful with his money, let's just say. And this guy, this crook with a gun, says, "Your money or your life." That's all he says. And for the next 20 minutes, Jack Benny, who was famous just for glaring at people, he'd look this way, and he'd look that way. And every time he did, and he didn't say anything, people would laugh even more. It's like, what's going on? And finally, the guy with the gun, who was like 20 minutes later saying, "What the hell's going on with this guy?" to himself, says out loud, "Well," at which point there's another, 5 minutes of laughter. And finally, he says, Jack Benny says, "I'm thinking about it." And then more and more laughter. The idea that what we have in life, that what's the most important thing to us? Everything that our ego thinks we want, or our life, whatever that is, because we're not really sure at the moment. all he could think of was, what's more important here, his life or his money? And it's an amazing thing, and the laughter that makes it supposedly the longest joke. And he didn't even say any more for the last 25 minutes or so. It was just at the very end he finished it up. But it is an amazing thing when you think about it. Since then, we've come up with a whole lot of other substitutions for money. It could be your drug. It could be your alcohol. It could be your iPhone. It could be anything that you make it out to be, unless we get the real lesson of today, of the last 10 days, really, the 10 lessons that Tom put together so beautifully, that this is all about forgiving ourselves for our money obsession and all of the other top possible
Oh, I'm sorry.
obsessions. That's my thought.
Oh, I just wanted to say I must be an old fart. Darn it! I was so upset that I was one of the old farts.
I'm so sorry.
Jeez, that was a great joke, though.
You probably saw it on a video. I'll forgive you for you're not really old enough to have seen him do it and do that joke. It was a video. I'm not even old enough for that. So these 10 lessons are the beginning of the big change.
I'm
Adriana,
sorry.
go ahead.
It's just that it happened again. He was so engaged in the conversation, and he was like way in the middle of his intervention, and I was, "Oh, Lee, I'm not hearing you." And that has happened sometimes today.
Catastrophic mic failure. Andy, you're not the only old one, and I think we can all get the joke by the way Dad did it, because it's an obvious joke. But my ego jumps in and says, "What good would this money be if you're dead?" It's not. There's no choice between the two. It's actually just a choice for whether or not to live or die.
And for
And
him, it was a hard choice.
well, I guess isn't that really the irony of life? That this
Yes.
joke is like an onion, and there's at least an outside and a middle and an inner kernel of both pain and truth, and why life is funny. Why we're here in the first place. To laugh is to look at the irony of life and still be able to laugh in its face. To make the
Exactly.
great mistake of coming here to be separate from God where it's miserable, but just to experience it and just to enjoy the process of going through the bittersweet steps of life that can be chosen to be enjoyed. And you can look at the beautiful sky today as we head into the fall. I've got beautiful purple flowers outside my window. The birds are singing. Everybody's happy. Apples are thick on the trees up here in New England. And it's so much to be grateful for. It's not cuckoo.
And when you go through it and you think of that joke and you're at the end of the joke and you're thinking about what Thomas just said, the answer is, okay, I think, like you said, Lee, it's a better idea to save my life here. All right. Once you do that, then you can begin to do what it takes to save your life. And the next 10 lessons, by the way, are part of a new group. The last 10 lessons leading to 2:30, which was today, the next 10 lessons are about salvation. We're going to find out more about what it really is, how we experience it, and so on. But isn't it interesting that the first step was about forgiveness? When we start to integrate that into our lives and we feel forgiveness and other people that are with us feel forgiveness because we forgive them on purpose, out loud, with our voice, with our love. When they know they're forgiven, we begin to experience this bigger thing called salvation. And I say bigger because remember, I'm coming from a Jewish background. They didn't use that word. My father thought that what Billy Graham used to do, and some of you may know who he was, um, it was amazing. And he talked about salvation, salvation, salvation. And the Jewish mindset, which I grew up with early on, is what is that thing that they're talking about? It didn't mean anything to me at first. Maybe some of you have experienced that too. But forgiveness didn't have the power that I now know it can have if I employ it. And the next 10 lessons are going to steep us into an understanding of salvation, to be able to understand what it really means for our lives and for the lives of others we're connected to. But it all starts with this last lesson, 230, which is that I will now seek and find the peace of God, which is what we
Papa,
have always wanted. That's it.
Papa, I gotta bring up something that Tom and I both talked about this morning, and it's the nature of the quote unquote opponent in life. Our ego needs a variety of opponents in life so that we can practice a variety of dealing with opponents in our life. Sometimes it's a big, huge man with a gun in an alley, like I described when the first time I was going through. Tom used a different way to describe that same person. The motivation that we were talking about behind it. And it's sometimes too easy to get stuck up in the story to realize the underlying principle is exactly the same. We need an adversary to practice with. And in this world, we have the most realistic adversaries that these bodies could create. In fact, we even make video games with adversaries that are simpler to practice on. That's how we teach pilots how to fly. That's how we train people in a lot of ways now. We, as humans, have created simulations of our real world in order to hone our skills for the real world, so that we can prove our mettle, so we can prove that we came here and learned our lesson. Forgiveness was the thing we were teaching these last 10 days. And so whatever kind of story you need to generate so that you can conceive of and commit to the practice of forgiveness, make that story up for yourself so that you can conquer your adversary. I'll give you my example. I have been doing the same thing for about 30 years, making websites. And I know I'm good at it. And I wrote a book about it, one of those for dummies books, the yellow and black kind. Mine was. And it was published in 2012, and it was a bestseller that year. And it was on responsive design. I know my stuff. But I have a lack of confidence, especially with the way that I, believe it or not, am able to communicate with my boss about what I've accomplished. I can accomplish great things, but I have a hard time getting his ego out of my head. My picture of his ego is, of course, generated by me. It's me tripping myself up in a way where, just to keep it simple, my boss is my adversary, and part of my job is to help him see the value I provide. All right. The mistake I made isn't that I didn't do the work, isn't that I didn't deliver the value that was asked for. It was that I wasn't very good at picking the dates that I'd be able to deliver on because I didn't understand the complexity myself of how hard it was, the thing that I was building. And I'm building a complex piece of software. It's a little bit like a work of art. It's just a little picture, a button, a radio button, a text box, a text area, all the little things that go into a form, all the things that go into making a grid for creating a website, all the things that are needed in this tool that we are all adopting in the UX field over the last 5 years. This tool called Figma has really taken it by storm, and GE is moving to Figma, and they're a couple of years late to the party. And I'm doing my best to build this design system for them in Figma that's easy to use. I ran into a brand new challenge yesterday. Yesterday, for the first time ever, my system ran out of memory. I have a brand new problem. My other problem is that I got laid off on Monday. And I've lost my job so many times. I have to find a way to approach the next couple of days and the next couple of weeks with a solution. And my path through this solution is, first of all, not to see my boss as an adversary, but do everything I can so that if tomorrow's my last day, I'm handing off a package to the next person who can take what I did and get rid of the problems that I see. If I'm honest, I can see some things that I would change if I was to start over from scratch. And I can list those out as at the top of the list in case that's what they want to have happen. In fact, those out of memory errors, since they're brand new and my computer has 32 gigabytes worth of RAM, it's a little bit troubling that I would run into that because I'm 5 components into a 50 component set. So I've got to break up the files, or I would suggest that we break up the files and we have 1 component per file, and then we bring those together in variants as a sticker sheet. If any of this makes any sense to you, the long story short is I've been working on something for 3 months. I see some big holes in what I've done. I know I've done some incredible things, specifically learning what needs to happen with this Figma so that GE can get the most out of it. If I can find a way to present that value, I'm a contractor. He could hire me on Monday. He could lay me off on Friday and hire me on Monday. If I do a good job and make it sound like, oh, that's why he delivered it at the layers he delivered it. That's why it came together this way. That's why the foundation was so important and slowed him down for the last month on delivering the second layer stuff because he had to get the foundation right. In fact, I'm using that metaphor. It's foundations, it's walls, and instead of building with lines, like architects used to draw lines on paper, I'm building intelligent objects with information inside of them that can be manipulated. One button has 150 different variants, and each of those variants can be displayed in a dozen different ways. The complexity is enormous. However, I've created a system that's easy to maintain, easy to check. If you need to change a color, it changes throughout the system by changing 1 token in 1 place. GE just split up their brand. 150-year-old General Electric is splitting into 3 different companies. GE Healthcare is one of them, and I built this system to be able to swap out that logo. It's really just changed from blue to purple, honestly. It's not a big change. But to build a system where that logo would change everything on everybody's design that uses that library is huge. When they've got more than 150 different designers using this system, they can change the logo in a snap or swap it out for a Pride logo or whatever the marketing department needs. The point is that the system works. I just haven't described it very well to my boss. My adversary doesn't understand because I assumed he knew the complexity of what I was working on, that he could see me struggle and that he thought I was doing this in good faith. But he may have not thought that I was doing it in good faith. And I might have to prove it to him by writing out what exactly went right and what exactly went wrong. And if you hire me, I'll go fix these things. And if you hire somebody else, these are the things I suggest you go fix. And I've done my job, and I can be proud of that. And I actually have a great portfolio piece. And there's 1,000 jobs out there. I can go find another one. I know how to do this stuff, and I can prove it. And that's the confidence of being able to hold my head up high, finish by doing a good job. And what will happen is, in theory, potentially, my boss will realize that I did the work. I put in the hours. I delivered an incredibly high quality solution that fixed all kinds of problems they had in their system already. All their icons were all messed up. And I'll tell you the truth is, Adriana helped me out. She's got an eye for detail. 625 different icons in this system. She checked every single one of them, and we know exactly what's right and wrong with them. And we fix the easy stuff, and we ask questions about the hard stuff. That level of work shouldn't go unrewarded. It shouldn't go unnoted. And I need to find a way to at least sum it up so that by the time the door hits me on the ass on the way out, I have done my job and delivered all the value I could think to deliver. That's what I'm here to do.
So, Lee, what does this have to do with the last 10 lessons? The question you like to ask me, I will now ask you.
I got to
The
forgive
last 10
myself.
lessons.
I got to forgive him. I got to forgive everybody. I've got to not be attached to the outcome so that I'm delivering value no matter what, because I know it's the right thing to do. And I know that as I move forward, it'll be easier to tell this story when I sum it up. And I know it took forever to tell it just now, but I can sum it up quicker and quicker the more times I tell it. I can get to the point faster. And this practice that I do here every morning enables me to do this. It's like a public journal where I'm going to bleed on the page a little bit and tell you where I'm stumbling, but trying to keep my head up at the tall perspective, not be like an ant on the ground who's worried about where the next dime will fall. I got a beautiful place to live. We got a cupboard full of food. Everything's going to be fine. Everybody's not going to lose their house. I need to relax because
Hey, Lee,
that's the way I can do the best job.
can you hear me, Lee?
Yes, ma'am.
That whole story was the story of the mind. It's the story of the conscious bringing the subconscious the information that it needs to put out the results, intended. So there's, you said the whole story, and you really did. I heard it so clearly, and that's what we're always doing. So you did do a great job, and you did recognize it. You completely recognize that you're always making a slight adjustment and bringing better information to the to the system that's going
Yeah.
to output. It was perfect. Yeah, it's so perfect. And like and we're always doing better because we're always having a higher understanding of what is the quality information that we need to put in. The conscious knows that it needs to join with the subconscious, which would be your like your mind, your brilliance, bringing the quality information to the computer, who is not brilliant. I mean, we could say the computers are brilliant, but the computers are only what we've given them. Yeah, they can make calculations faster, but we still created them, right? And so you're still like perfecting the system, to
My
put out
job's
the.
to make it easier to use.
Yeah, you're
I
making it
definitely
easier
see
to
how
use.
it's hard to use.
And look how hard it is for a person to like to do to put what they know, everything, bring that information to the computer. It's only going to put out, still it is a computer, it still is only going to put out the best that we put in, and we don't know everything. So you had a very complex task, and little by little, or maybe lot by lot. Yeah, it could be all that. I don't know how, I know they're intricate, just like the mind. It's the same. It's all the same. So it's the same technique. Bringing it, the quality information is going to help it put out more quality, or it's not the quality. It's the like the very little thing that might fix all of it. You know what I mean? That one thing, that you said, one button can do so many things.
Yeah. I mean,
But yeah,
it's building a whole bunch of little Swiss Army knives, and
yeah,
every job is kind of like this. We've all got different problems. I mean, when a dentist is faced with a mouthful of teeth, he's got to look at it one tooth at a time, right? And then look at the whole system and look like it's a multidimensional system, just like anything else. When you get into it, the complexity level can go all the way up to infinite.
yeah. I
And
had a
part of my job is keeping it simple, and part of my job is making sure that it does all the things it needs to do and still be simple.
It's me too. Like I get a patient that's petrified to open their mouth for me.
Oh my
I
God,
have
how
to,
hard is it to work on somebody who won't
yeah,
open their mouth?
I have to start, I have to start from square one where they are. And that way to get them to trust me. And I can only do that because I trust that I can do that. So you trust what you can do, given the time and the, the trust. You trust. We're trusting
Yeah,
ourselves.
you've got
We
to deal with
know.
real fear. So many people are scared of dentistry, and so many people have been hurt before it. It's, gosh, have you ever been bitten by accident?
Yeah, actually, I got bit yesterday too.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh my
but you know what?
gosh.
I'm usually careful because I know,
Yeah,
and
if they're
usually, and I
scared, right?
catch them as soon as their teeth start to come down. I catch it. I'm like, oh, you're biting me.
My God,
They
it's
don't know
just
they're
like your
biting me.
dog.
Yeah.
I found something out in the back channel, and Rosa, I have to ask you. I I am I am absolutely convinced there's a whole dimension of you that I just never realized. Do you teach welding? You welding metals together? Is that what you teach yesterday when you were at school? Oh, I hope you're there. In the back channel, I think Rosa told me that she teaches welding, and
Yes,
I
I
always imagined that you were just a history teacher or something, and that you were teaching
well,
Rosa
I
Parks in my head.
I started out as an elementary school teacher. Then I went into science, and then I retired. And a friend of mine wanted to open a welding school. He gave me his objectives. I wrote the program, and 15 years ago, he opened his school. So I am not a welder. However, I am the person who knows the welding language, the math, and the symbols, and that's what I teach. I teach the the different um, methods
Is kind of
of
the
welding.
technical side.
Yeah, the technical side, the book side,
Fascinating.
and then we have a person that actually trains them in the booth where they actually do welding. But I teach them the different symbols, the different layouts, whether you're doing overhead welding or under um, horizontal, vertical, corner welding. I teach them the math to design and create um, symbols to go on blueprints and things like that.
That is
I teach the
phenomenal.
book
That's
out.
real world stuff. You teach people to be creators in the real world, and you're teaching them the 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 Einstein part of it. And welding has always fascinated me. It's everywhere in
Well, we are
everything we
so
do,
blessed
man.
because DC has a lot of programs that our residents can actually do for free. Like they offer nursing programs, construction programs, has tech programs, computer programs. They give seniors computers after taking a class at the library, free. We here in Washington, and that's why the saying is that there are 1,000 new people who come to Washington D.C. a day to live, and basically because we offer our citizens and constituents a way to make a better life for themselves. However, on the other side of that, most of our young people do not do it. I was given 16 students. Of the 16, I am now only teaching 7. The rest of them dropped out.
Yeah, but the ones that stayed
People don't
are going to
teach
learn the
once
lessons.
at
The
a
ones that
time.
stayed are going to get the reward. And if you don't want
Right.
to stay, then you're there to go learn that lesson some other time, right?
Look, I'm going to tell you, um, I just don't understand.
Just don't understand why people don't take advantage of this.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I agree with
Because
you.
I
It's
took
just
my
like
earbuds out.
it sounds
Um,
so much better. It makes a world of difference on this side. Thank you for doing that.
yeah, I had to take them out because I didn't know. I'm trying out. I have all these buds.
You sound
and
great
my house
now.
and husband.
But
Yeah, so
I
I've been
understand your
doing this,
frustration. I get it.
because I tell and I give out flyers. I was talking to my Uber driver yesterday about what I did, and he was so interested. And he's from Ethiopia. And do you realize that most of the people that I teach and that actually go through our program, a lot of them are Hispanics and Africans. Our American boys, they just don't have the patience. And I don't care what the outcome is, they just don't have that patience of sitting through 16 weeks of training. And after that 16 weeks, once they pass the in-house test and the welding test, they take that certification at any site and start immediately making 25, 32, or $45 an hour, depending on what they're offering at the job. They don't understand it. When they learn to weld, people say, "Oh, what can you do?" All these skills that you learn between the ages of 17, 16, and all the way through to your 20s will take you through a life changing experience. You don't know what or where your education can take you. It's important. That's the one thing that no one can take from you. The one thing I know about me is that I am a great teacher, that I teach, and I don't really have to know, because I was scared when I first started teaching welding. I was like, I didn't know a thing about the language of welding. I had no idea. I've taught artists, people who come in and they just want to learn to weld because they want art. One of my students,
I mean, I'm in for that. I really am. I want to fix this. There's two things broken in my kitchen that need welding. I got a sieve that needs to be, the handle needs to be welded back on. I'd give anything to have just the afternoon lesson to go in and learn how to fix that thing. It's so annoying.
yeah, it is. But that's not major welding. That's just brazing. All you have to do is get a brazier from Home Depot or someplace like that,
I'm
and just
making
braze it
notes. I'm going to
together.
go get a brazier. I
And then you
live,
just melt it
Rosa, in
together,
an
and then it
apartment
just.
building that used to be a welding facility. Like, there's literally a welding thing downstairs. I'm sure of it. If I just go talk to the guy, the landlord,
And
I
he
may be
probably,
able to put this together. Thank you for the brazing
yes,
tip.
he may let you. He may do it for you because
Let
maybe
me
he has.
let me
And
jump
what
in here.
better and sorry, I'm gonna say just this. And what better analogy of a good teacher than a welder that connects everything together?
Permanently. And, I
Yeah.
have just a couple of minutes and I have to leave, and I wanted to just reaffirm for Lee that what this conversation shows me, and I've known you longer than anybody, um, except maybe Susie, is that this whole lesson and the 10 lessons that we've just been through, which is about forgiveness. Lee, you opened up this morning by saying that we simulate with our ego something that causes some friction in our lives so that we can learn forgiveness. We can't learn it if there's no adversary, right? Okay. What is that adversary? Well, we need to learn. We need this adversary to teach us how and when and what forgiveness is all about. The friction from your ego, Lee, if I may put it this way, is to help you see the truth of what you are, that you are the real thing. It's time for you to do just what you're saying. I'm just putting this in context. It's what you just said. You can explain to them, first in writing, maybe in speaking if you have the opportunity, that you are the real thing. You're not an imposter. You knew what you were doing and you did it right. It wasn't perfect because things don't usually come out perfect. They need some friction. So you can forgive that and you can get rid of the fear that you've had for quite some time that other people would think you're an imposter, because you are showing them that you can produce the real thing because you are the real thing, not an imposter. And if you put all of this together, we can use something that one of our favorite writers, Stephen Covey, wrote of the 7 habits. One of them, I think it's the 5th, is seek first to understand and then to be understood. I've also spent a lot of time in my life trying to make someone else understand me better instead of understanding what they're looking for, giving them what they need. If I do that before I scream that I need to be understood more, if I seek to understand what they're looking for and make sure they understand that I've already delivered it to them, or that you've already delivered it to them, then the misunderstandings will go away. And yeah, if you can be a contractor after that, way to go, because then you're the boss. You're the real thing. And I'm complete because I have to go to a phone call.
Well,
But that's what I
I
need to say.
gotta say that I'm very thrilled to have the room chat for. I mean, it's funny because you were in your own space and conversation and beautiful interactions with, of course, the same content, and we were having a beautiful conversation in the room chat as well. So I'm very glad to be able to participate in, like in a in a kind of omnipresence mode. That it's funny. So the lesson of today is, now will I seek and find the peace of God. Now will I seek and find. Seek and find kept in my mind throughout the entire session. And in order for us in this duality to seek and find, we just can translate that with be. Because as this is the world upside down, we are seeing the complete presence of God in a partial mode, and that is an upside down version of what we truly are. When we pray for the peace of God or any of the concepts that give us joy in this world, God will not come in front of you and say, yeah, my son, here it is, and put it in your heart and you will feel it instantly. God will not give you that because you were the one who made the choice to see the light refracted. So what the source does is that it enables you with situations that will make you be what you originally are. So when you ask for the peace of God, you might not be served with that, but instead you will have a circumstance where you have to perform or display that very same thing that you are asking for. Because in this dualistic world, you don't get to see with your eyes what it is, the entire presence of God. So, in that sense, you can understand that everything that you consider that it's probably bad or challenging in your life or whatever is the most loving way that our current state of fear allow us to find God in this perception. So it's very important because we are coming to an end of the entire set of forgiveness lessons, and the forgiveness lessons in our minds now needs to go beyond our ability to see the other one, or the source of your pain or your conflict, and saying, oh yes, I forgive. We have to go really deeper and find forgiveness as a way to engage with the emptiness in the mind that will bring you the sense of peace with whatever it is you face in this world. I was also having in my mind this word that is control, because I have been called by my ex-husband that I'm trying to control everything by just asking him to just do. He stated in our agreement that he has to host me at least 1 week when I arrive there. Uh, And of course, my ego mind says that is just fair. I mean, that is what we agree. So why are you making such a fuss about it if I'm not asking for anything? And I wasn't asking for anything, but in my egoic game, that I'm using that as a tool to blame him in some form, to not being able to be peaceful with me, when the one that needs to be the peace is myself, and saying, okay, I will handle it, because I know that I will not have to do anything, because if I am learning this, I know that God will show me the way to solve my circumstance, instead of expecting that resolution comes from my ex-husband. So seek and find, instead of you doing something in order to find that, is the being I mean, you are seeking support. Feel supported by God. Feel supported by the notion of emptiness. Is it for you hard to understand that you are supported by something that you cannot see, feel, touch, or whatever? If you have a little bit like hesitation in that, is because your mind is still attached to the level of the form that is a partial reflection of the light of God. So unless we understand that control has an origin in this attachment to the level of the form, we will always be repeating patterns that will give you the opportunity to experience the light of God in a partial way. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but it all comes like into a perfect sense to me right now. I was seeking the etymology of the words because I have found such a great jewels of wisdom in that, and the etymology of control in my language means that it's a certificate of the delivery of a gold treasure. The word come from the in the Spanish language, comes from the action of uh, of the, how do you say it, the ones that discover the Americas. When they bring the gold to Spain, they enter the gold in one single space. Yeah, uh-huh, the conquerors or whatever. They came back with they came back with the gold, and the gold was saved in a place, so they received a certificate of the gold. So control comes comes from the recognition of that gold. And in English, it's also the accuracy, verified, regular, counter, register, something. So in our world, our our action of controlling someone is not coming from a bad negative sense. It's just coming from the longing for everybody to feel at one with other. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but for me it was super amazing, because now I really understand the deep meaning of what my ex-husband is trying to put on me, and I can like reorder or reset the meaning of that, and I can release it, because I'm no longer feel attacked when he's saying it's just that you're trying to control anything. No, I'm not trying to control anything. I'm trying to see myself as one with you in kindness, and I'm not seeing that, so I get mad. We are all longing and seeking for the experience of God in this world, but as long as we keep the mind attaching to the idea that we will have it through our peers, without understanding that our peers is ourselves, we will always try to control them. Because what we are looking for with control is to feel at one. And that needs to be reversed, in the sense that nobody here will show you the total reflection of yourself, because you are feeling different than the other one. So what is left to do? Forgiveness, emptiness, turning your mind against what you cannot see, what you cannot taste, and trusting that will hold your back always, because it's among everything in this world. Yeah, have faith. That is the true faith, and that is the way we perceive heaven on earth. In the room chat was amazing, the conversation, because Tamara brought the
Yeah,
question of
thank you.
what is
Thank
heaven. Of what is heaven, and I went to search for the etymology of the word again, And I have pieces of wisdom in Spanish and in English. And in some form, the origin of the world is emptiness. And it's a beautiful analogy. Everything is an analogy of that emptiness. But we are so scared of emptiness because that means that we're going to lose our identification with we are male, woman, young, adult, or whatever, that we don't want to look at emptiness as the source of everything and the peace of God. And it makes all the sense now. Nothing real can be threatened because it's empty, and nothing unreal exists because in this world that we see with our eyes, we are not seeing emptiness. We are seeing forms, we are seeing things, people that are different than us. And the magic happens when you see that the emptiness within everything that there is has it all perfectly managed, so you can keep playing the game of seeking and finding instead of being. So my friends, I'm really glad to have this day because I was beginning the day with a heavy heart for some reason for all the things that happened in this week. And I really can see this dynamic in what happened this week with Lee losing the contract with GE, with myself having this fearful moment of not knowing where I'm gonna be when I arrive in Mexico. And I'm not afraid anymore because the only thing that I need to have in my mind when I feel the fear is to understand that everything is empty. So there's nothing fixed. You are not your body. You are free. So whatever it is you're going through and that you have to do in this life, in this moment, is okay. The frictions, the challenges, the moments where you feel control from others are just means to feel at one in this world. So you start to lose the resistance to be controlled or to control somebody, because we are all longing to feel at one in this world. So that's where all comes into the point of creation is the same point of destruction. And every single second in this life, we have to practice emptiness in the mind, forgiveness. Now I understand the 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 deep meaning of forgiveness, and it's beautiful because it's exactly at the end of this set of lessons that that like groups up the yeah the block of forgiveness. So I'm very glad. I feel for myself like release. So thank you everybody for joining us. I'm very glad to have you here, David. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to push around my own thought process to have this recognition. And Tamara too, she's not here right now, but I know that she will probably feel that in some form. So thank you everybody, because my mind needed this. Thank you.
Thank you. Because what I wanted to say, having been a listener and quasi contributor throughout this experience of understanding, experience of realization, right? Experience in the moment, in the here and now, as you come to where and form your own opinions and ideas. And it's as if you're speaking for me, right? And that's one of the things I love and laugh about these experiences on ACIM is everyone that speaks, everything that's read is as if it's from my own, self. And it's always such a laughable and skin tingling, goosebumpy type experience every day. I'm just surprised and not surprised at the same time. And so I contribute what I can as I'm able in chat, primarily typically. I am always welcome to feedback, constructive criticism. I am aware and am in the teenage years of my growth, and my ego and I are at odds often. And but
You're
we're
doing better
mutually
than you're giving
aware.
yourself credit for.
Well,
I can appreciate your humility though, and I can tell you that you showing up and knowing that you have 12-step experience, and Christopher showing up knowing he's got some 12-step experience makes it easier for me to pull from the metaphors that I have behind me. so that I can make this stuff
Well,
be clear for
I,
myself.
I'm on step one, right? I literally have just started my 12-step process, and I just went to a meeting Monday night, and I shared, what they would refer to as my spiritual awakening, and it like two or three of the people that have had an interpretation of that
You may be on
experience.
step 1, but the spiritual awakening is the conclusion of step 12. You don't get a spiritual awakening without having gone through all 12 steps in some way, not by their letter maybe, but
Exactly,
there's the spirit of
exactly
it.
my
And
point.
that is so key, David. That is so key to give yourself a little credit for that. Continue to be humble, continue to move forward. But you're no teenager. You're doing great,
Yeah,
man. You're in your 40s at
no,
least.
I'm 37 by Earth years, but
Excellent.
the
That's my lucky number.
the oh yeah, mine's 38 actually. So I'm kind of excited and nervous about next year, to be honest. Um,
Fantastic.
that was my jersey number in high school football, so it's been with me throughout my journey.
Now,
Um,
L37 upside down spells LE, so 337 is LEE. And there,
oh wow,
Christopher, that's the biggest secret I could give away. Oh no, did I say it out loud?
LE. Ask
So,
me when we talk later, Lee. Ask me about LE. Um,
I
I'd like to
will.
share some thoughts on that with you.
It's the most common
Anyway, I'll
last
shut up for
name there is, LE.
now. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to wrap up this room, guys. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I'll be here tomorrow at 3:37 a.m. West Coast time or 6:37 a.m. East Coast time. I'm trying to get it up and going by 6:30 if I can, because I figure then I can make more use of my day. But I'm going to head off. Have a wonderful day. I'll be here tomorrow. Arrivederci.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Bye bye. See you tomorrow, David and Christopher and Ajami. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, love you. Love you.